Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tracy Guilford. This is the Groveland Cable TV Advisory Board meeting of Monday, January 28th. It's approximately 6:38. First order of business will be approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was on Thursday, November 29th, 2018. I see a typo there.
That's all right.
For me, 2018. Has everyone had an opportunity to read through the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any additions or deletions or amendments that need to be?
Not that I see.
Nope.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the November 29th, 2018 minutes of the Groveland Cable Advisory Board.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Passed. Second item will be the proposed membership in Massachusetts Access. And what Mass Access is, it's an advocacy group that does seminars for public access and promotes public access awareness in Massachusetts. It's a good resource. Years ago, when before Groveland and Georgetown separated and we had the Georgetown Groveland Public Access Corporation, we were members, and I found going to the seminars, educational seminars, very enlightening. One of the things that I used to do, I used to videotape the local school plays, and when I was at one of the Mass Access groups, they were like, "What are you doing? Didn't anyone tell you that's illegal?" And then it's like, I always assumed that when you were doing it for public access and I wasn't selling copies, that it was okay, and they said, no, immediately stop, otherwise you could be sued. So I stopped doing like the school plays. So needless to say, I thought that was good. Now, due to the size of our town, the membership fee,
$150 for budgets under $300,000.
right,
Yep.
and that would be us, so it'd be
Yep.
$150 a year membership. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that,
I think
Chris?
it's helpful, we're members in Merrimack, and, I found it to be a helpful organization. I've attended some of their conferences throughout the years, on and off, and I think it's a good organization. I think it'd be money well spent.
Yep. Chris, are you familiar with the organization?
Oh, yeah. No, they do a lot of advocacy. They work a lot with our senators, making sure that public policy is in place for public access centers and that we can get the funding that we need. And, there's a good amount of advocacy that they do. They also have a way to share programming to help expand each other's on-air offerings of programs. Some town may have another program and it might be of value to a certain community, so they make it available via download.
Yep.
It's also very helpful. And, you kind of can't go wrong, so.
Carl, would you like to add anything?
Oh, it's very informative that we get together with everybody, find out what's going on.
Yep. Okay. So does anyone would like to make a motion?
I move that we join Mass Access. If we can. The money's there, let's do it.
Yep. Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
All right?
Okay, passed. Third item agenda is live streaming of municipal meetings. This was something that we had visited at our last meeting, but we had voted to table it because, if you remember, when we had first come in, we had it as a cost of $5,000. And then, just before the meeting, we were given a new thing saying it was more than 5,000. So I just wanted to give the other board members an opportunity to do whatever research they thought was necessary. Chris, what is your recommendation on this?
Yeah, I say we go for it. The reason there was a price change was the day of that meeting. It became clear that we needed a third encoder for what we wanted to do, and they hadn't been aware of that, with the initial quote and our initial conversations. So that changed it by, I think it was like $259, more than what I had originally thought it would be.
Yeah, 285. because of
285, okay.
The price that you reported, it'll be $5,285 a year to do live streaming, so that people will be able to view the meetings on computer as well as television.
Yeah, well, they can view them on computer now, but this will allow the town
The live
website to
streaming.
do it live while it's happening and not have to wait, a day for the upload, so.
So it's
Right, to
hosted on
YouTube.
town's website. Will it have to make a page to?
They'll
host it?
have, it'll integrate with the
Right,
town's website,
so they just
yeah.
basically embed the player inside
Right,
of a page.
Exactly, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
And that encoder is gonna go here.
Yeah.
So that's, that won't be reliant on Comcast, even if our channels are out, we'll still be able to do
live
that
stream.
on the town website.
Okay. That's nice.
So, and that's why I wanted that third encoder. So,
Okay,
That makes sense.
makes sense to me.
Kyle, do you
Yeah.
have any questions?
No?
And we have the funds for it?
Yep,
Okay,
we do.
cool.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to accept the bid of $5,085 for the live streaming of municipal meetings?
I move to go with the Earth Channel streaming service solo package, so outlined in this packet here.
Awesome.
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
All right?
Aye. Passed. Agenda item 4. We're going to discuss, one of the things that we had discussed at the last meeting was replacing the 2 carousel bulletin boards. But when we approved the money for that, it was determined that some of the other equipment was not going to work with the new equipment. So we had to come back with an updated list of additional equipment needed in order to make the bulletin boards work with the current equipment.
Yeah, can I just clarify on that? Basically, we've been asked to look at just replacing the carousels, so that's what we did and came up with. But, our server's on its end of life anyway, and so what happened was HB, had to go back and look at how old that software was to make the carousels compatible with what we currently have. When we did that, we also took a look at the server and, because we're in the process of upgrading that anyway, we know we have to do it. We asked them to put a hold on that. It's not that we needed other equipment, but the software, they rolled the software back so that it would work with what we currently had. And when it became clear that we were gonna upgrade the server anyway, and that software would have to change, we asked them to, wait on it and, give us the newer software so that it'll be ready to go with, let's just do it all at once instead of having them come in and do 2 different things and have to change the software all around. They went back to make it work with what we had, but we really need to replace both the bulletin boards and the server. So I think it makes sense to do it all now. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of a lot. but-
Do the expenses have to go to bid? Because we're a town.
I'm gonna have to ask Denise on that.
That's my $10 question on this, just because, it's not that it's an earth-shattering amount of money, but the nature of it, I think it may have to go out to bid. Because we don't have a separate access corporation to
Right.
handle the purchase, so we may have to go through, and they just changed all the procurement laws, so we just want to make sure we're
Okay.
compliant with that. I
Okay.
think that's a safe move.
Then I will touch base with Denise on that.
But I mean, otherwise, what I see here, it's definitely gonna help, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done any major expenditures, so I can't say either way whether it does or it doesn't have to
Yeah, I
go
know
out to bid.
sometimes listen to the meetings, it depends on whether if the HB was on like a state bid list.
They are.
So-
Yep.
They're on OFF 30B, I believe.
Sometimes you
Yep.
don't have to go
Yeah.
through the process, I
Right.
know, on certain things.
It's always good to
but
double
it-
check, 'cause
but
I've
yes.
known that,
Oh,
so.
yeah, yeah, so I will touch base with Denise on that. If there are no problems, you know, with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, and like, they have been our vendor for a while, they know our system. So, I would prefer to work with them again for the most part.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess I move to accept the proposal. I'm glad we went with spending the extra $7,000 to get the more robust system from the other one.
Yep.
But based on the advice of the
Yeah, but
finance
based on-
director.
correct.
Whether or not we have to
Right.
go out to bid, or whether if it's a approved vendor and they
Right.
can go,
Right,
it'll
Yeah,
be
so-
based on that
right.
contingency.
That's what I move to do.
Okay.
I move to accept this and go forward pending the finance director's recommendation.
Yep.
Okay,
I think that's safe. Keeps us good.
okay. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that was item 4. Item 5 will be reviewing the franchise renewal timeline. Rob was nice enough to come up with the timeline and amended it from the last meeting. If you want to just take a couple of minutes to go over it, just to see if there's anything that we want to change. I plan on, releasing this to the Board of Selectmen because they're concerned about the time between now and the expiration of the contract.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to make them aware of what we plan to accomplish on a monthly basis. I also want to make the board aware that because of the amount of work we have to get done between now and November, that I suggest we will probably have to start meeting every couple of weeks
Yep.
in order to get through the information. Like, just on our January timeline, we want to determine how much time we need to work on this.
Yep.
And that's why I suggest, because there is a lot to be done, that we'll probably have to meet every couple of weeks instead of once a month.
Yep.
We'll have to determine what our goals are, to
Yep.
come up, but our goals are also going to be based on input from the Board of Selectmen, input from any other board or committee in the town, any other department, and the citizens of Groveland. We'll have to identify which parties. Now, you said you're going through this in North Reading.
We just finished it. Yeah,
You
with
just
both
finished,
parties, yeah.
okay.
With
Do you
resident
have the
Comcast.
contact person that's responsible for dealing with the public access?
What do you mean, is in the franchise reps?
Right.
We have a different franchise rep in Groveland than we do in North Reading.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
how do we find out who we have as our official?
So, how I discovered it, was I called, what is her name? I called Carol Murray up in, Manchester, and I believe it's Kathy Malone, and she works out of the South Shore, I believe.
What's her name again?
Kathy Malone, or Maloney?
Kathy
I just
Malone.
played
or
phone tag
Maloney?
with her for a bit, and also with the emails, and then finally I got a chance to speak to her. She said that Comcast had sent a letter out a couple of years ago to the board, letting them know the 3-year window had opened up
Okay,
for renewal, and that we were supposed to go and do an ascertainment and get all of our pieces in place, and then that's when we can kind of invite her and start talking to her, so.
Okay.
I said our goal, hopefully, if we can get it together, is, by the springtime. And she was like, that's great, just as soon as you get all your ducks in a row, contact me and we'll go forward, so.
Okay, so to do the ascertainment, that's the one where, do we have to have a survey done from the townspeople?
Yep,
Yeah.
usually do a survey, and/or a public hearing. Actually, public hearing's a good way
Yep.
to do it as well. You wanna meet with your department heads, library, police, fire, schools, figure out what needs there may be. And then, sort of go around, like, audit all the sites, like, look at the equipment there, look at, what's installed at the police station, and maybe what's at the fire station, if there's any other locations. Also look at where they may have brought both, the free cable service to the town buildings, but also what we have for, drops on the iNet to go live. Anything that's outlined in this contract, we should probably go over and figure out, is it there, is it working, is it not working? Is there anything that they didn't follow through with in the last contract that they should have? But also consumer input, not just what benefits the town, but also what benefits the consumer. Are people being denied cable because of, maybe the setback is 150 for what Comcast delivers to us, maybe they're 155 feet and they're not gonna give them any wiggle room? Is there something we can do to help those customers out? But I think we can, it's not impossible to do, it's just a lot to do.
And then identify what our initial and immediate needs are. and
Right.
That's upgrading of equipment,
Yep,
review our current contract, and identify areas that need correction and improvement. All right, so we'll start with that. Do I have permission from the board, this timeline to the Board of Selectmen? Does anyone, after having read that, see anything that they want to add, delete, amend before it's released to the Board of Selectmen and the public?
Is this the same as from last time? This
I think we
timeline?
just updated
I
it to
think we
start in
just-
January
yeah,
instead of
okay.
December.
Right.
That was the only change.
That, and it was originally listed as Groveland Cable TV Advisory Committee instead of board.
Right.
So we have to have things correct
Yep.
to be
Yep.
released to the public. So if people want to review that, and at our next meeting, if there's anything else they want to add, subtract, or amend, we will do that, and I will be releasing this to the Board of Selectmen as it is, and seeking their input also. All right. Item 6, old business. Under the old business, did Rob and Chris, did you have any luck with either microphones or the sound system speakers in the middle meeting room here?
Right. We looked everything over. There's a couple items in the rack we're gonna double check. One thing that was kind of a concern is the actual, what might be the issue is either the amplifier in the rack isn't strong enough for these overhead speakers, or there's too many overhead speakers being driven by that little amplifier.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I
that's
agree.
clearly gonna be an issue. I mean, I know there's a 70 volt out on that, but I don't think it's, I think it's, there's too many speakers for that little amp. As for the mics, I mean, the mics seem to work. I mean, when I watch the replays on Facebook, or if I see it live, I don't have an issue with the audio per se. I was curious if there's any documentation, over the past, have they like, has there ever been like any sort of complaint system in place, if people had a hard time hearing at home, or is there anything filled out like
We
that?
have had issues, and, Chris and HB, to me, have corrected it, because the
Oh, that's
last
good.
Board of Selectmen meeting, I thought was fine.
Yeah, I did too, so.
But just like I noted in our last meeting, we had tried a rental lavalier system, and that was terrible.
Right.
It wasn't as good as these were.
Yep.
So I think we'll go with these for now, and like, if we can figure out how to disconnect some of the speakers up there, or put in a bigger amplifier, even if we have to borrow or rent a bigger amplifier, so we can figure out ideally, if we can operate all,
I may actually have one to
speakers.
try out.
okay,
Yeah, and if it works, then we can just keep it here, so.
okay.
I mean, you do have to realize that within the size of this room, you're limited to what comes out of those speakers, to what hits these microphones. So you're gonna be, if it's too loud, it's gonna be so prone to feedback. These mics will be
Right.
very, very hot. So
Yeah.
you wanna you gotta worry about that, especially in proximity to these front row of speakers up there. I mean, that's not
Well-
that far if it's,
Then I would suggest, disconnecting the front row of speakers to see if the amplifier will operate the others. Because when you're in a small group in here, you can hear.
Yep.
But when this room is filled with 100 people and you have somebody up here who has a very soft voice, you can't hear them.
right,
It might go out over the air fine, but people in this very room will not hear.
Right, right.
And like I said last meeting, I've been in bigger rooms where, the sound system works fine and it goes out over the air. So I know it can be done.
yep.
So if we have to spend money to hire somebody to do it, I say so be it. I need to make it work.
Yep.
We need to make it work.
I've already contacted an engineer that I work with. He's willing to come by, so I just
Okay.
gotta know if that's okay with the
appreciate it.
town and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'll check with Denise
Yep.
to see if that
I don't
is
wanna
acceptable.
step
Yeah.
on any toes, but at the same time, wanna make sure the right things get
Yeah.
done the right
Well,
way,
like
so.
I say, our biggest issue is coordinating, because this room is used by so many boards, committees, groups, that we coordinate with the finance director to make sure that when we're working, whether it's on speakers, mics, that we're not doing it and bumping a board or committee out of here.
Right.
Because they have first rights on the room booked through Denise.
Yep.
So if you and Chris want to book the room for a specific time for the
You'll have
engineer
to.
to look at it, you would talk with Denise, schedule a time and a
Yep.
date, so she can block it off. So
Okay,
everyone knows that the room is being used by
Yeah.
public
Yep.
access television.
that works for me. Just as long as, I don't know what we have to spend on an engineer to come in.
Yeah.
If I knew, hey,
Well-
Rob, you're allowed this much.
Oh,
Then I'll gladly say, hey, I'll get my guy in, and he can at least look around,
Okay.
at least get a second set of eyes.
Then I would
third.
want from your engineer, friend, what, at our next meeting, if you could give us a ballpark of what they would charge to come in
Oh, I
and-
got that already.
and make,
Yeah,
the determination what needs to be done. What, you got that already? How
yeah, at
much?
least what he charges me when he comes to my station,
Yeah,
so.
and what does he charge?
It's about $80 an hour and
Yeah.
$40 for travel time, which is actually a very, very fair deal.
$80 per hour,
Of engineering, then another $40 an hour for travel.
$40 per hour. And where's he traveling from?
Brookline, New Hampshire, but he knows the community, so he can get here.
Yeah.
He knows
Is that,
everything.
Yeah, I
Michael?
know.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Fine.
Michael's good. He's real good.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, Brookline isn't too far,
nope,
up by Nashua.
yep.
All right. I do, does anyone else have anything else they want to discuss under old business?
There have been certain questions about how monies have been spent,
Yeah,
and flipping through the contract today. That's both the Ironnet. Transmissions, access provider. So in support, they have the, statement about any sort of technology, but later on in section 6, there's language regarding a report of disbursement. So, depending on who reports this, but annually, the issuing authority or the access designee shall submit to the licensee, so either the selectman or whoever's in charge of the access money or the access corp, shall submit to the licensee, which is Comcast, a written report showing the actual disbursement made of the funds provided by the licensee on behalf of Groveland PEG Access Programming and pursuant herein to Article 6. They want to make sure that that money is going for public access and not for other endeavors. So that is in here, and I think people should be made aware of that before they start spending money on other things. I know that's been a concern, and, like I said, I know they had the little clause in section 6.3, but in 6.5, they want to make sure that money that they're giving to the community goes back to public access and nothing else. I mean, simply put, it's a cable fee for cable subscribers to benefit cable subscribers, just like when you have any other membership fee that goes to being a part of that service, whether it's a gym, cable TV, or whatnot. Whereas, taxes are for the common good, common safety, et cetera. That affects everyone. So if you take the money for cable access that cable subscribers pay, you're taking it away from their service, in essence. So that's why they have that language in here. And I don't know if it's been made a thing in the past. I'm new to this town, but knowing that that language is in a binding contract, I think we should kind of keep that in mind with how these monies are dispersed, so.
Okay.
That was one thing I learned. And then I also was able to, for old business, I was able to get a hold of Bill August, and he's interested, and I spoke with you this morning about that, so.
Awesome, great.
So, that's also good. I don't think there's anything else for old business in here. I've been reviewing this past few, oh, yeah. Question. Maybe this winds up in a new business. Is the Bagnall and Pentucket ever been connected to our iNet? Or the passive coaxial fiber network in town?
I think that the Bagnell had at one time been connected years ago. Pentucket was one of those things we put in the contract,
Yeah,
but it was going to depend on cooperation from the other two towns that make up the Pentucket district. And that never went through.
interesting, because, again, contract states it's only West Newbury. The West Newbury selectmen are supposed to help approve of it.
Right.
It didn't mention anything about Merrimack, which I thought it was interesting, but,
I'm pretty sure they would anyway.
Yeah. I don't see
could
why they
make sure
wouldn't.
That could happen.
yeah, because I know you mentioned you had a hard time getting the meetings, so it's like, why not keep that channel open? If it was already in this contract and should have been done, then maybe we should try to get it done this next round. That might be an action
Yeah,
item.
well, interesting thing, they're talking about building a whole new high school
Right,
now.
right.
So whether or not Comcast would even want to entertain trying to cable the old school, knowing that it's gonna be knocked down in a few years and a new school built.
Depending on how they do it, and depending on, well, actually, on both sides, depending on how Comcast wants to do it, depending on how the building goes up, it might be a little easier than, oh, well, we're gonna work on the whole building, we're not gonna run on the line. If it's already coming down the driveway, and
Right.
all it's a matter of the demarcation point going left instead of right, that's just a splice, especially with
Yeah.
fiber optic cable, it's
Yeah.
expensive, but,
And then the other thing is school participation. We had at one point met, and this goes back probably about 10 or 12 years, met with the superintendent, and we gave them $6,000 in seed money with the hopes of getting programming from the students, because they do a video production program at the school.
right.
And we have gotten nothing. Nothing.
So wait,
The
equipment-
only thing we get from the school is the school committee meetings.
Right,
We get those
Any-
from Whittier. I rip them from the internet for Pentucket.
Yeah,
I don't
that-
even
that's-
really get those.
And
That's kinda-
Anything else we get, we send Charlie, goes to the school and does like girls' basketball. And I can't remember what other, he'll do some of the other things. Boys' basketball, and he'll go up to the Bagnell Elementary School and do the Festival of Lights.
right, right. I know, I saw him there at that festival, yeah, that's right. Did a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah.
Well, my question is at Pentucket, are they using equipment paid for partially by PEG access money? Like in their own town, is there some, like, where does their equipment come from? Is it from their school budget?
This comes from their school budget. 'Cause
And
like I
we're all
say,
paying for
we-
that.
Them $6,000.
Well,
in
that's my
seed
question,
money,
why would you do that if
and
there's already
then-
taxes paying for
Right.
that equipment? I mean, if your
Right,
school
and-
budget comes from taxes,
Right, it's already in there.
and you know, we're paying for these cameras and all this other stuff these kids are using. Why are we paying an extra $6, or not to be cheap, but why are we paying the extra $6 and get nothing for it?
The idea was hopefully to provide an opportunity, well, at that time, they didn't have, if I remember right, they didn't have a video production class. And that was kind of like seed money to get it going. But then, again, the idea was they were supposed to submit content to us to play on the channel, and then we never got any content.
So we got zero return on a $6,000
Right.
investment.
Right.
Yeah,
And so we.
Yeah, that's
we
not
just-
okay.
We just stopped.
yeah, that's not okay, so.
So-
You know, I'm all about supporting a program like that, but if you're gonna get nothing for it,
Right.
and it's already being funded through tax dollars,
Right.
that doesn't make sense to me, so.
Right.
I
so that
don't
was-
wanna push away an olive branch, you know, I'd like to
No,
keep that
if-
channel open, but I mean, there's gotta be, it's a two-way street, you know?
We've always left it open that they're making content, and some of the stuff that the students do is incredible.
Like,
You know, I've seen it, it's just amazing what they do, but they will upload it to like YouTube and not,
do we have permission to copy that program from
I
YouTube?
don't know. I don't know. I
You know,
just-
because I mean, again, if we gave them
Does
$6 grand, at
Merrimack-
least cut us a
does
break and let
Merrimack
us,
put
let
up
us
any
use the
content?
program they're making.
We get, you know, we started our whole education channel in the hopes of getting stuff from the school. I believe we did give them a couple hard drives at one point, but we don't get anything regularly.
Do you get anything at all?
Not really, no. We take we run the Whittier and the Pentucket school committee meetings, but, you
Right.
know, I get the Whittier one and I take the Pentucket one from their Vimeo webpage. I rip it and I transcode it. It's not as ideal as it could be, you know?
Do viewers in town, like parents and whatnot, do they ever request to see anything that the kids are doing? Like, do we ever get any feedback from?
They probably don't even know what's going on.
Right, that's a
Yeah.
shame. That's a
Well,
shame.
we do we air the sports, the basketball, you know, that's coming from us.
Right,
so,
that's,
you
yeah,
know,
that's
so-
generated by us, but it's like, if they already have a program in place and they're making content, like, I just don't understand why they're not sharing that content with at least 1/3 of the participants in Pentucket Regional School District. That doesn't make any sense to me.
In your district of North Reading, does your North Reading High School submit stuff to their public access?
We're allowed to grab it from YouTube. That's probably the easiest way to bicycle it from point A to point B, so that's what we do.
So they do, but you have to make the effort to take it.
It's an easy effort. I have a
Okay.
piece of software that just rips it right from YouTube, downloads it. I have an MP4 file that goes in my playback system, done. So,
Okay.
easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, maybe you could show me that, because I mean, I use some stuff, but it's definitely not ideal. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yep. It's there. It's actually pretty easy, and it's, yeah, you get good results from it, so.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it might take, you know, to download it from YouTube, might be a couple of minutes, and then to transcode it, you know, however long, half hour or so, depending on what you're using for software and how powerful the computer is, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Anything else under old business? All right, under new business, I just want to make the committee aware, I did speak to another person, Elizabeth Rose, who had been a member of our committee a number of years ago and has expressed an interest to rejoin us to get us through the contract process. So she will be contacting the finance director to be requested to be put on the next Board of Selectmen meeting next Monday night to be approved, so hopefully she'll be at our next meeting,
Okay. Sounds good.
okay? And I will be in contact with the board members by the end of this week to pick a new date for our next meeting. I've just got to get my work schedule tomorrow to see what's available, and I'll contact the other
Sure.
board members to see your availability.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Anything else for tonight?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
All right.
Then, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Unanimous and adjourning at 7:13 PM.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.